Hey everyone, welcome to Skein Spider. Today's video is going to be the second pattern in the Halloween series, this skeleton dude here. So if you'd like to make one of these, grab your hooks and let's get started. To make this pattern, you're going to need a 3.5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, a needle, pins, stuffing, and 8-ply yarn in both black and white. Before we get into the pattern and tutorial today, you're going to need to crochet a head and a body piece. For that, head on over to the mummy video, which was the first video in this series. I'll put a link for it down in the description. So you're going to crochet a head and a body in black or whatever color you'd like your skeleton to be. The one difference between this head and body pattern and the mummy head and body pattern is when it comes time to make the head for this skeleton, you're not going to insert safety eyes, because what we're going to do in this video is crochet a skull, and within that skull pattern there are eyes created, so we don't have to worry about inserting those into the head. And then once that's done, we're going to go on to really the only part we need to crochet for our skeleton. This is a pretty simple pattern, and that is going to be the skull. So for that, I'm using white yarn and my 3.5mm hook. We're going to start off the skull with a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 16. Row 1 starts in the second chain from the hook, and we're just going to go back along the chain and do 15 single crochet. The next two rows, so rows 2 and 3, are the same, and they both start with a chain 1, turn your work, and then 15 single crochet. So we're going to do the 15 single crochet of row 2, and then when we get to the end of that, we're going to repeat the same pattern for row number 3. Row 4 is where we begin to create the eyes for our skull. So what we're going to do for row 4 is chain 1, turn our work, and then do 3 single crochet only. 1, 2, and 3. For row 5, we're again going to chain 1, turn our work, and do 3 single crochet. And then we're going to do the same for row 6. Chain 1, turn work, and 1, 2, 3 single crochet. At this point, you're going to grab your scissors and we're just going to cut the yarn. This tail that we're going to cut just needs to be long enough that we'll be able to weave this end in through the backs of our stitches later on. But for now, what you're going to do is turn your piece over so that the right side is facing up. And then we're going to take our crochet hooks and insert them into stitch number 7 from row 3. So I'm starting at this end, so this is going to be stitch number 1 here on the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now I'm going to just insert my hook here. However, what you want to make sure of is that you do have the right stitch, because there should be 3 stitches that we did in this first row here. We're going to skip 3 stitches, do another 3 rows of 3 single crochet here. We're going to skip another 3 stitches in this part to create the second eye, and then we're going to have 3 rows of 3 single crochet on the end again. So that means when we insert our hook into stitch number 7, we should have 1, 2, 3 stitches we can work with. So we're working from stitch 7 to stitch 9. And then after that, we should have 3 free stitches here. So if you've got that, if you've got 1, 2, 3 free stitches, and then the 1, 2, 3 that we're going to be working with, you're good to go. So once you've got your hook into stitch number 7, we're going to bring back in the white yarn. There's the end. You're going to line the end up behind your hook, yarn over and pull through, and we're just going to slip stitch to join. And this slip stitch isn't counting as a stitch in our round, so you want to go back into that same stitch and then single crochet. 1, I'm also working over this tail end so I don't have to worry about weaving that in later. So that was one. In the next stitch we're going to do another single crochet, and in the stitch after that we're going to do another single crochet. And that was row 4, or part of row 4. And then for rows 5 and 6 we're just going to chain 1, turn our work, and then do 3 single crochet across. So now we should have 2 pieces sticking out here that are the same length. And we're going to repeat that process again that we did at the end of the first one we made. We're going to cut our yarn, leaving a tail long enough that it can be sewn in or weaved in. We're going to take our hook and this time insert it into stitch number 1, so the one at the end. Come on. There we go. So in this section there should be 3 stitches we can work in, number 1, number 2 and number 3, and then there should be the 3 free stitches in between those 2. Once more, bring in your white yarn, line it up behind the hook, yarn over and pull through, slip stitch, and then we're going to start with another single crochet in that same stitch. 1 single crochet twice more across the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then rows 5 and 6 for this section are just going to be chain 1, turn your work, and 3 single crochet. If you'd like, you can continue on with the pattern from here, but what I prefer to do is to take out my hook at this point and just grab a stitch marker, just one, and secure my end, because I like to weave in my ends now rather than later. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with the piece, I find, so the ends aren't continuously getting in my way. So I'm going to grab my needle and just weave these in. And once those ends are weaved in, I'm just going to continue on with the pattern. So what I'm going to be doing for row 7 is breaking it down into parts A, B, C and D, just because I think it's a little bit easier to understand that way. So we're going to begin by chaining 1 and turning our work, and then we're going to single crochet 3 across the cheek that we've just made, or the side of the skull, whatever you want to call it. 2 and 3. And now we're up against this 3 single crochet gap. To get across that, what we're going to do is chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. So that was part B, the chain 3. Row 7, part C is going to be 3 single crochet across the nose section here. So we're going straight from our chain 3 of part B into the first single crochet of the nose. And we're going to join it with a single crochet. So we've got 1 single crochet, then into the second stitch, 2 single crochet, and then 3 single crochet. For part D, we're going to jump across this space with another chain 3. So row 7 part D is just a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to finish up with part E, which is just 3 single crochet across row 6 here. Like we did with the other part, we're just going to jump straight into the first stitch and single crochet in the second stitch, and single crochet in the last stitch. Now at the end of row 7, we should have 15 stitches still, so we have 3, 3, 3, 3 and 3. For row 8, we're just going to chain 1 and turn our work and do 15 single crochet across. And we're going to do this by first doing the 3 single crochet across the row we've already done. 2 and 3. But the next 3 stitches that we need to work over are the stitches of the chain. So I'm just going to go into the first chain, 1, then into the second chain, 2, and into the third chain, 3. And you're just going to repeat this until we reach the end. So we've got another 3 single crochet to do here, another 3 single crochet across this chain, and then 3 more single crochet to finish. In row 9, we're going to make the nose. So begin the row by chaining and turning again. We're going to start with 6 single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to skip the next 3 stitches in a row. So from where you did that last single crochet, number 6, you're going to count 1, 2, and 3. In the 4th stitch, we're just going to single crochet into that for 1. So make sure that you have skipped just 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to finish by doing 6 single crochet. We've done the first one, that was where we joined it, so we should have 5 more to go. For row 10, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, but we're going to start with 9 single crochet. So we should have 6 stitches. So we should be starting with 6 stitches, 1 and 6, and then our last 3 single crochet should be across that chain 3 that we made in row 8. This is going to leave 6 free stitches, but we're not going to be working in those, we're just going to leave those free. For row 11, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and then just do 3 single crochet. Now this 3 single crochet has created the teeth for our skull, and all we're going to do to finish off now is to single crochet around the entire piece. So I'm going to go up the side here of the 3 single crochet we just did, across the bottom, all the way around, and then back up the side of the teeth until I reach the end here. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet in at the side, and then just continue single crocheting my way around. When you've gone all the way around the edge, we're just going to slip stitch to finish off, and then you're going to want to leave a fairly long tail for sewing. When you've finished the skull, what we're going to do is bring in the head and body pattern that we've already made. And all you're going to do is take your skull and grab your pins, and we're going to pin the skull in place onto the head. Now I like to line up the top of my skull with the front loops from, I don't even remember what row that was, but one of the rows after we'd finished increasing out in the head. And I'm just going to center, and I accidentally overstuffed my head for this one, so I'm making it a little bit difficult for myself. But anyway, we're just going to pin this in place. And then once the skull is pinned down, you can grab your needle, and we're just going to thread the tail end through that. And then we're just going to sew the skull to the head. I'm only going to be sewing around the outside edge, but if you'd like to, you can sew down both the eyes and the little nose here. When you finally finish sewing, all we're going to do is weave this tail end in through the head to secure it. And then just snip off any excess. The only thing we have left to do for the skeleton is to add the details. We're going to add the bones and also some teeth. I'm going to start with the teeth, so I've threaded my needle with some black yarn. And then all I'm going to do is insert my needle into the head off to the side of the teeth somewhere. Doesn't matter exactly where you go in, as long as it's not on the teeth directly. I'm going to push my needle until it emerges just from beneath the first and second stitch of the bottom of the teeth here. So when we finish the teeth, we should have had 3 stitches. So I'm going to merge from between number 1 and number 2. And I'm going to pull this black yarn through, but I'm not going to pull it through all the way. I'm going to leave a bit of a tail hanging outside the head where I've worked into it with the needle. I'm just going to pull the yarn straight up, and this you can make as high as you want. So I'm going to have the teeth in line with the bottom here. So I'm just going to push my needle into the skull in line with that. So I'm in line with the bottom stitches here, and I'm also in line between stitches 1 and 2 here. So I'm just going straight up. From this point, I'm going to push my needle down and then out through where between where stitches 2 and 3 are. Do that again. Like that, and I'm going to pull firmly on the yarn so it lays nice and flat, and then I'm just going to go straight up again. And now from this point, because I'm only doing this twice, I'm going to go from this point out of the original stitch in the head that I worked into. And once again, pull firmly on your yarn so it lies flat. And now all I'm going to do is tie these 2 ends off. And I'm going to cut the yarn, and then you can either grab your crochet hook and pull the knot back into the head, or you can just push it back in with either your scissors or your needle, whatever you've got on hand to use. There we go. And using that same method, what I'm going to do is create the bones on the body. So this time I'm going to be using my white yarn. And with the bones, you can get as detailed as you like with them, but I'm going to keep it fairly simple because I'm going for a cartoon sort of look. And we're just going to use the same method. You're going to go into the body somewhere, create the details, and then tie your yarn off. This is not working well. There we go. So you're going to go into the body, create your details, tie your yarn off, and depending on how detailed you get, you may need to do this process 2 or 3 times. So I'm just going to start off with the arms, and then I'm going to work my way down the body. And there we go, skeleton finished. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next week is going to be the 3rd character in the Halloween series, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it, and I will see you all then.